Yeah, thank you so much again, Christopher. So thank you for this, for everyone stay here with us, to be here with us, and thank you one more time. So this is my contact in social medias one more time. I use in the, as Christopher mentioned a lot, LinkedIn and Twitter. This is my mainly social medias, and if you have, if you'd like to follow me or send me questions, whatever, I'm open to talk to you. And it was a pleasure, by the way. And who am I? I'm a security researcher and security developer advocate at Innovation. It's a Brazilian company. So my company is responsible, to produce new technologies, actually. So it's very interesting. And we have focus in 4 open source products. All those products is open to the community. And if you have time, I can explain more of this in the end of this presentations, right? So I'm advocate from this amazing project. It's Hacking Not a Crime project. It's American, actually starting in America project. It's, because when you talk about the hacking on a hackers, sometimes the media using the wrong expression, because the media associate the hacking on a hacker with a bad guy. It actually is not, because hacking is it's a mindset. It's a culture. It's a culture. It's totally different. So I am an advocate of this project, and I can explain more again in another time. And I am part of the staff group of the DEFCON group São Paulo. You have the community here in São Paulo, Brazil. So I have a part of this staff team, and I am security research and instructor of the hacker security. I am a founder and instructor of the more analysis courses. By the way, in the last year, I present of some of this topic in the cybersecurity leadership in Berlin. So it was a pleasure in that time. And I am a writer and reviewer for these 3 magazines in Europe. It's so nice. So it's just something about me. And this is our summary or agenda. So first of all, my idea is to talk about what is threat, because just putting everybody in the same page, I would like to suggest some brainstorming and suggest some change your mind, talk about the open CTI, and after that, if we have time, I would like to present some demo and open questions, right? So first of all, guys, the idea is to talk about the threat. It's just probably we have many different definitions of what is threat exactly. And my idea is to choose this ISO, because just I need to choose one of this definition, right? So threat is definition has a potential cause, because during this event, we are talking about the SOAR solutions and concepts and something like that related to DevOps or, or security. How can, produce this new idea, or how can provide this? I was hearing about the panel before I start my talk, what the kind of strategy better to choose or something like that, So, but first of all, we need to understand what is actually exactly a threat, right? So threat is a software attacks, maybe a theft of intellectual property or identity theft, or maybe a sabotage, or all those information extortion are example of the information security threats. So it's very simple. All those things related to the softwares, right, is related to a threat. Of course, maybe you have another definitions or another idea. It's not a problem. I just remember I chose this ISO definition, right? And as results, most of this organization chose the active threat hunting practice, right, to defend their organization, because we have a SOAR, right? A SOAR. This is a security orchestration, and you need to have the automation tools, or many another different tools to organize and automatize it of this process. And the idea, in the end of the day, is to defend the companies from the network's unknown threats, right? Because in the end of the day, to protect us from unknown threats. That's the idea. So my idea when you talk about the brainstorm is the idea when you have this kind of team inside the company, or this SOAR team maybe, or SOC team, or maybe threat hunting team, or threat intelligence, or cyber threat intelligence, the famous CTI, right? So we need to work with the threat research, because we need to research about the threats. We need to discover new types of threats or kind of threats, right? You need to provide the team, because the idea when you search something, you can provide the team this kind of proactive line of defense against advanced threat or advanced persistent threat. Actually, and probably you know what it means, advanced persistent threat. It's a kind of attack. It's very advanced, and then use many different techniques or something like that or another. It's a persistent because it's the time during this attack is related to more, or actually not more, but many times, right? So when you need to think about the SOAR or this kind of defensive structure, you need to have the inside of your team, using the offensive techniques. Gartner talking about the vulnerabilities management when you talk about the SOAR, right? So you need to search about the vulnerabilities. We need to develop this kind of skills in your team, the exploitation development. We need to looking inside of this reverse engineer, intrusion detections is another different skills, because remember, this is my idea is to talk about the new open your mind, right? So the new brain store, because if you have different skills in your team, you can build it, the good SOAR, because of course I know that SOAR, we have many many tools, maybe private tools or open source tools, no problem. But you need to have the people to manage it. This is the good thing in the end of this is the point in the end of the day, right? So looking inside the forensic analysis, because you need to treat this kind of attack after the attack happened. And this is the challenge, to deliver automated intelligence to the company to gain productivity, because this is the main importance, right, for your company, to gain productive. This is the idea. So first of all, I create this kind of circle, right? Because first of all, you have a threat. And after that, you have this threat. It's known and unknown. Because we need to understand how this known threat works. Because after that, you can produce this in kind of intelligence. Do you remember when you talk about the CTI, cyber threat intelligence? We already can produce this intelligence after you, of course, receive this acknowledgement, right? So because of this, it's very important to study these known threats, right? And of course, all those things will open your mind to understand more about the unknown threats. Perfect. In the end of this kind of investigation, maybe you can produce a report because of this, all those informations you can, produce this information to your manager, to your coordinator, your tech lead, or whatever people that you report, right? And you can improve your defenses mechanism, because this is important when you talk about the SOAR, right? Because if you have a SOAR implemented in your company, but you don't have this kind of intelligence, or you don't have this kind of people inside your team, you just have a tool in the end of the day, right? You just have many tools, and it's not a producer intelligence for you, and cannot protect your company, right? And after that, you can create a cyber threat intelligence. You can create it because you have a known threats and you have an unknown threats. So you can produce all this. You can, of course, improve your mechanism, your defenses mechanism, and you can, of course, change this kind of adaptation, because the strengthening cyber resilience. We need to have this, because the cyber crime or the cybersecurity, the threats are changing all those in all those time. So let's change our mind. So who is cyber threat hunting, or what is threat hunter? Threat hunting is a proactive approach in a cybersecurity defense, but here is the key: offensive mindset. This is my suggestion, my challenge to you, right? Because the threat hunt is the process proactively and interactively searching through the networks to detect, first of all, and after that, to isolate the advanced threats, to evade in this case, existing security solutions, right? So this is a good action, because one more time, sometimes when you talk about the cybersecurity, and that you talk about, for example, this threat hunting or our analysts, maybe you can pick up this kind of guy and put him inside of the SOC team, or maybe inside the support team, or maybe in a blue team, or whatever team that you'd like to you want to put this kind of professional. But here we have the key in my, opinion, because this kind of guy have a good skills. The defense cyber threats, the focus in the defense team, but totally offensive mindset, right? So who is threat hunter? What is threat hunter? Threat hunter is a qualified security professional to recognize, first of all, needs to recognize, isolate, and disable potential APTs. Here is the key. The special guy inside, or you can put inside your SOAR, because remember, that's my idea during this conference, was then the session. We have the SOAR platform, or you have many others tools in your cyber threat intelligence, and maybe the SOAR is part of your cyber threat intelligence, but you don't have the special guy to manage it, all those things, right? So that's my point here, okay? And this guy can, looking for possible internals, external intruders to discover it, to the risky, and this is the guy. Important this guy understand about the zero trust concept. And by the way, we had the zero trust event some month ago. So we talk about this kind of concept and something it's very interesting, right? So let's continue here. So the threat hunting based on your IOCs, right? So IOC, it's very interesting because you can collect all those informations like a domain, IP linked to a phishing website, and a cryptographic checksums, or part of this value related to some attack. So this is a kind of technique using in that threat hunting, right? So, but this point here, it's very interesting because when you talk about the IOC, all those information, it's possible to collect it after to receive an attack, after your company receive or suffering this kind of attack. So you can just remediate of the action after the attack, right? So you can find the suspicion on non-authorized domain or IP suspicion. You can find the signatures to detection and to detect suspicion or non-holistic data, such as antivirus or IDS signatures. Maybe a data related to a potential exploitation of vulnerability or the part of the exploit that you find. And very important, you need to understand about the TTPs techniques and procedures, the famous TTPs, right? And associated to the suspicious, obviously, this kind of attack, right? And here we can find the very interesting open source project, right? This is a MISP. It's a more information sharing platform. You can, this is a kind of source that you can find. You can you can produce. You can putting many IOCs inside of this platform, and you can have many this information related to many attacks. And of course, we can, integrate of this tools or this project actually with another different sources, and you can produce this kind of intelligence or cyber threat intelligence in your company. This is a picture that I collected from Google. It's not a problem. It's not from any company, so no problem here. But this is a kind of attack related, for example, a Lockheed ransomware, right? And here we have many information related to this kind of attack. So it's a very interesting open source project to using or to testing your environment, right? And another different technique is based on AOA, right? Indicator of attack. It's kind of different here. Let me explain more. In this case, is the AOA. It's the focus. This is in why, right? And why the attacking used the intention. It's totally based on behavior. But here, when you talk about the AOA, the point here, it's related to analyze this attack before happen in your company, right? Because of this, we need to understand about the tactics, techniques, and procedures, and to understand how this known threats works and unknown threats works. Because when you understand all those two parameters, we use this expression parameters or this kind of threats, you can understand more this how attacker use these different techniques, right? So what information we can collect based on EOA? Some behaviors, real-time behaviors. For example, if you have many scan in your Active Directory from the midnight, for example, it's not a common behavior, right? It's not related to an endpoint behavior analysis. It's a related, your environment behavior, right? And another is code execution metadata or dynamic links library, like a DLS call it, that some different sequence of events in your environment. Just all those information you need to, search. You need to looking deeply to try and find some, attack user behavior in relationship to the digital threats. It's very common. Another point is about the TTPs linked to the hostile data, such as malware using an attack, like, as some people can, hear about some attacks, and if it's persistent and have components using the attack. And for example, another example is internal host with a bad destinations, internet host with a non-standard port. It's very, very, very common. You can find all those informations. Public servers, DMZ to internal host connections, off hours malware detection, and how I mentioned in midnight, for example, and network scale by internal hosts. Maybe problem is different. If you don't have any red teams inside your company, why this kind of services are happening, or this kind of scan are happening in your environment, and multiple alarm events from a single host. It's another suspicious behavior, right? The systems is reinfected with the malware, the same system. Maybe it's the focus, the target of this system, and multiple login from a different region. So it's impossible. You want only one person, right? And another is internal host using such as SMTP protocols, and internal hosts here using many queries, internals and external DNS. It's guys, believe me, this is very, very, very common in many companies. So this is need to looking deeply of this information. And this is a very interesting project, OpenCTI. It's a very interesting open source product. I don't know if probably we don't have a time to explain, to make a demo, but this is a very interesting. You can put in the in the internet, OpenCTI.io, and you can here have many sources of the attack. You can using for example the demo and not the demo. You have the demonstrations actually environment that you can find, you can study, but you can understand more of this project is. It's as I mentioned, it's an open source platform, and for me here in the second, it's very interesting because we have many data. You can about the acknowledgement. They using the sticks to standard. It's very interesting when you talk about you managing it. It's based on MISP, as I mentioned. They have it to using an incident response. It's one of the part of the SOAR, right? And all those information is based on MITRE attack. It's very interesting because maybe you can ask me, or you can think about, for example, I need to invest in my my budget in the private solutions. Maybe you can invest in, but you have another open source solutions. Maybe you can try to find some information, right? So I think we don't have many times to talk. I think I can finish my presentations, and if you have any questions, Christopher, please let me know if the guys have any questions. And thank you one more time for this opportunity.